She had chosen this flat for the silence. Third floor, into the corridor, away from the road. For 6 months, it had been exactly that. Until him. The bass came through the wall like a slow tide. Not loud enough to complain about, just loud enough to ruin everything. She wrote 3 drafts. The first was too angry. The second was too polite. The third said exactly what she meant. It is 1 a.m. Please stop. She folded it precisely in half, slid it under the door of flat 4A, and walked back to her side of the wall feeling like she had won something. His flat was everything hers was not. A bass guitar on a stand. A keyboard buried under sheet music. 3 half-finished canvases leaning against the wall. He found a note at 1:17 a.m., read it twice, and taped it to his fridge next to a Coltrane postcard. Then he made tea and played something softer. The next morning, there was a note under her door. Sorry about the noise. I was working on something stubborn. Here, earplugs. They're new. A small packet was taped to the paper. She stared at it for a full minute before she almost smiled. The notice went up on a Tuesday. Residents are advised that the building will be vacated by the 15th to facilitate redevelopment. 7 days. Priya read it twice. When she turned around, the man from 4A was standing 2 feet behind her, reading over her shoulder. Their first moment of actual proximity. They introduced themselves on the staircase 10 minutes later, which was absurd, given 6 months of shared wall. He said his name was Zane. She said hers was Priya. He said he was sorry about the noise. She said it was fine. Neither of them meant what they said. Both of them knew it. She went to the roof the next morning to think. She had 4 days left in this flat and hadn't begun to pack. The city was just waking up. Auto rickshaws, a temple bell somewhere, the smell of filter coffee drifting up from the ground floor. She had lived here 6 months and barely noticed any of it. He was already up there, sitting cross-legged with a small notebook, a cold cup of chai beside him. He had been coming to this roof every morning for 2 years, he said. She had never known. They sat on opposite sides of the water tank for a while, not talking, watching the city turn from gray to gold. She saw him perform for the first time by accident. He was at a street corner near the 100 feet road, playing bass with 2 others. A small crowd gathered around them. He played like he wasn't performing at all, like the music was simply happening and other people were welcome to be nearby. She stayed for 20 minutes, told herself she was just waiting for the auto. He never saw her. She left before the last song finished, which felt important somehow, like keeping something for herself. She walked home thinking about the way his face changed when he played. It bothered her. She went to his gig on Thursday, told herself it was just something to do on her last few evenings in the neighborhood. The bar was small and low-lit, maybe 40 people. He was on stage with a trio. She sat in the back and ordered a gin and tonic and tried to look like she was there for any reason other than the one she was there for. He caught her leaving, called her name from across the room. She pretended not to hear, then pretended she had just heard. He came through the crowd with his jacket over one shoulder, still warm from the stage, and said, "You could have just told me you were coming." She said she hadn't planned to stay. He said she had stayed for the whole set. The next morning he knocked on her door and asked if she wanted coffee. Not from upstairs, he clarified, from Pies, the old place in the corner that had been there since 1974. She said yes before she thought about it. They walked down together and sat across from each other at a small Formica table, and it felt completely normal, which was the strangest part. He invited her in that afternoon, under the pretext of showing her the street art piece he was finishing on his bedroom wall. She stood in the middle of the room and turned slowly. It was the most alive space she had ever been in. She understood, suddenly, why the music had to be loud. That night, he played something she hadn't heard before. Slow. Almost hesitant, like a question being asked carefully. She sat on the floor with her back against the wall and listened properly for the first time in 6 months. The wall between them was 18 inches of concrete. It felt thinner than that now. They were both on the roof for the last sunset. The city went pink, and then orange, and then the deep blue of a Bengaluru evening. He told her about the first song he ever wrote. She told him about the job offer in Singapore she had turned down 2 years ago. They had been neighbors for 6 months, and this was their first real conversation. She packed methodically, the way she did everything. Books first, then clothes, then the small things that take the longest. The frame from the windowsill, the plant she had kept alive for 2 years, the stack of sticky notes from the wall above her desk. The flat looked smaller without her things in it. They sat in the hallway at midnight with the doors of both flats open. All the other residents had already left. The building was quiet for the first time. No music, no footsteps above, no one's television through the floor. Just the two of them in the corridor, talking until the city outside went quiet too. The truck came at 9. He helped her carry the last 2 boxes down. At the building entrance, they stood with their bags around them and the old building behind them, and neither of them said what the night before had made obvious. He said he'd find her. She said she wasn't hard to find. The truck pulled away first. The bar was different. New place, same neighborhood. She walked in not entirely by accident. He was on stage. He saw her the moment she came through the door, mid-song, and didn't miss a note. Just smiled, the slow, kind, like something that had been waiting. She found a table in the back. This time she stayed for every song.